Okay, so here's my game with Ferris. This is the Rust game that I built for my CIS 400 project. So this is Ferris. He's the little Rust crab here, and he's hanging out here on a beach. He's thirsty. He wants immutably safe soft drinks, and he sees a coin that's on the beach because he doesn't have pockets to hold money himself. So starting off on the left side of the screen, or I guess starting off on the whole entire screen, we have a couple layers that are being rendered. The background is static. It's there all the time. It's the first thing that's rendered. Then we have the vending machine, which is an individual object that's being rendered at a certain position. Same with the coin, and then Ferris, and then we also have the text that's up here as well on the top left. This is one layer followed by a second layer behind it. Same down here, one layer with a second layer behind it to give it that offset. 3 pixel down, 3 pixel over, slightly darker to give it kind of that 8-bit shadow looking thing, because my font doesn't have that natively. So the vending machine, the coin, Ferris, and then there's this invisible layer on the ground are collision objects. So these things have a shape that's assigned to their current position. Ferris, it moves with him, so that way when it interacts with another object, the collision handler decides what to do next. The limits of the game on the side here, like Ferris can't walk off to the left, that's not a collision handler. That's just a limit that's set whenever his position exceeds the x-axis of 0, because the whole entire graphic content is set to render from the upper left with y increasing down, x increasing off to the right. So this is x equals 0. So whenever he hits that with his left side, because he's also rendered from the top left of his box down, whenever he hits, he's reset back. Well, I think there's about a 5 pixel offset that gives a little space here, but you can see there's a little rubber banding. As I mentioned earlier in my notes, the main state update is stuck at 60 cycles for its refresh. This doesn't do anything with the graphics, but it helps with handling everything. But unfortunately, the way I set it up, I didn't realize that that is directly tied to the physics of the game. So if I make it any faster, then Ferris runs, he jumps super high, he moves super fast, it's crazy. So it's something I have to detach from it. But the platform he's on has a collision handler, so whenever he lands on it, his velocity is set to 0, and his position is set with the height of his character being offset from the surface of that collision object. The next object he's going to interact with is the coin. The coin itself is just a graphic, but it has its own square collision object. It's slightly smaller, so that way you get that little bit of an overlap look to it, make it look like he actually picked it up. So when this coin is picked up, it's got picked up boolean is set to true, and in the graphics rendering, if that is set to true, it doesn't get rendered. So it's going to get picked up, set to true. The score is going to get updated with the event handler, and then it's not going to be rendered anymore because of the graphics update. So we have some victory music to let us know, hey, it's awesome, let's celebrate. Score is updated. Coin no longer renders. It's still technically there. It's collision handle object is still there. I don't think I have it set to being deleted yet, but that's something that'll happen later because I don't need to handle any more collisions with it. The next object it's going to hit on is going to be this vending machine, mutably safe soft drinks. So when he hits this, the handler goes into the changes things to a victory condition, so you get presented with different music and then victory text. The graphic will continue to be rendered and not have any change on that. So he hits it, he breaks the plane, and congratulations, you have helped Ferris find a coin and quench his thirst for safety. Press escape at any time to exit. So there is no menu or anything at this point because everything is handled in the main, but I found that if the main, instead of doing a single context, we're able to have a array or a vector of context states, then it would be easier to have a state for the menu, a state for loading, a state for an intro, a state for one level, a state for a different level, and it helps out with being able to have more functionality and more modularity. So it's something that I do want to add to this in the future, but currently don't have it. So there's no menu for it. It's just that. Just as with the left side of the screen, Ferris is limited. He can't pass on the right side. The thing with this is slightly different because, again, everything's drawn from the left to the right. So whenever he impacts with his left side having the plus width offset, then he gets reset back to the left along the way this is set up is 1920 pixels. So he gets reset back to the left with the offset. Again, you can see him rubber band a little bit if you tap it really quick, because the refresh rate of the main state update isn't quite fast enough to be able to handle everything a lot more instantaneously. So we're going to exit the game at this point. So on PowerShell, as the game is going, we have the frame rate being constantly pushed out. Well, not constantly, it's about once every 1 or 2 seconds. Frame rate is, since the game has the context set to being full screen, the graphical refresh rate, which is different from the main state refresh, it's tied to the monitor. I have a 144 hertz panel, so it's tied to that. If I had a 120 hertz or a 60 hertz panel, then the refresh rate would be tied to the refresh rate of that panel. It's kind of like having vertical sync on, but it's a different setting. We have the game exited cleanly output because the game exited cleanly. We also have the vending machine. When its plane is broke for the collision object, this is printed out by the collision handler that the vending machine is reached. Yes, true. And then the same with the coin. The collision handler prints this out to the terminal. Picked up coin, true. So pretty clean and minimal on there. I've learned a lot on this, and I've decided that something I want to spend a little bit of time on during the winter break to try to break it out and create a little bit more of something out of what this actually was. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot, and I hope to be able to continue on this. So I hope you enjoyed the little demo of Ferris's little safe day at the beach here. Again, thank you very much for your time.